Mary Maloney hosts a radio show on 1170 AM KCBQ at 7 o'clock on Tuesdays. It's always cool to have her follow the show. She is truly a wealth of knowledge about the North County marketplace. And there's a lot of different micro markets that exist up there, so I wanted to bring her in here to talk specifically about that market and also what's happening with millennials. So let's get to Mary Maloney. Always good to have you in here, Mary, and I know that you brought a couple of your teammates with you as well. So let's talk about who's with you first.
Well, I brought two of my millennial rock stars from our team. I'm so excited to have them on with me today. I have Kelly Coleman and Jason Barbato.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We're going to discuss the millennial marketplace. Before we do that, what are some of your goals in 2015 with your radio show?
2015, we're really looking to take it up a notch and bring on some really interesting guests and just bring some of what's happening, what's it like to live, eat, sleep, play, and volunteer in North County.
Well, I can't wait. So Mary follows me up. Again, I'm at 6 o'clock. She's on at 7 o'clock. This is on KCBQ 1170 AM on Tuesdays, and she is just an all-star, and she has a lot of fun doing it as well. So let's dive into this millennial topic. I hear so much about millennials. The different generations, Y, X, it all gets really confusing for me. There's a video from CNBC, actually the Wall Street Journal put up a video this week. Let's take a look at this video on millennials, and I'd love to get your comments on it.
But we're not really there. However, our next guest says the next generation of home buyers remains optimistic. That is nothing to sneeze at. Stan Humphries is Zillow's chief economist, and he joins us today. Stan, good to see you again. How are you?
Paul, how are you doing?
I'm a Gen Xer. I'm a cynic. I'm a skeptic. I saw your report this morning, and I thought, millennials. Why are they important, and what do they really think about the housing market?
Well, they're important because most of them are renting right now, but today's renters are tomorrow's buyers. And I think millennials have been a topic of hot conversation in the housing market because of concern that since they, in their impressionable years of growing up, grew up during the worst housing recession since the Great Depression. A lot of people have been concerned that they would be scared away from home ownership. In fact, what we found with the Zillow Housing Confidence Index that came out this morning was that in terms of their aspirations, they really do want to own homes. 82% of them are confident in their ability to ultimately own a home over the course of their life. 62% of them want to buy a house in the next 5 years. And Gen Xers are still going to make up the dominant part of the housing demand.
This is a hot topic of conversation when it comes to the real estate market, is what the millennials are going to do. What do you think, Mary?
Well, we are taking a very strong look at millennials in the market moving forward because as you just saw in the previous segment with the other clip, there are many factors that are affecting the market, not just for millennials, but for others, talking about jobs and job growth and part-time jobs and not being able to save and moving and looking for those jobs. And all of those factors really go in, but they really affect the millennial market even more. And so I've got two of my millennial rock star agents with me today, and I wanted to bring them on to kind of talk about what we are seeing in the North County market with millennials. Jason, you just represented someone, and we just heard the chief economist saying that while 82% of millennials are optimistic, sometimes the reality of and for millennials is different. Tell us about this recent experience you had.
Yeah, I mean, it really just boils down to how creative can you get as far as what opportunities are there and bridging that gap. Lending has a kind of a gap right now to make room for these millennials coming into. Most of them have mounting college debt. They've got the job, but they don't necessarily have that down payment like we've been talking about here today on the show. And so one of the cool creative ways we've had is we just go find a great house. Mom and dad might need to come in and help out a little bit. We've used technology as much as we possibly can and interpret the data that we find online and just look for creative ways to get these millennials into a home that's really going to be something that they can use to springboard for the future.
And also inventory. Inventory seems to be a topic here in the San Diego market. Availability and finding homes in that affordability price. Kelly, what are you seeing in the market? You work with a lot of first-time home buyers. What are you seeing out there in the market as far as availability and some of the recent experiences you've had?
Well, I do think it's just critical to find a local agent that has a niche within that market that buyer is looking to get into. And then also, again, finding the right resources as far as finding the lender in order to get the loan.
Yeah, and you know, Craig, we're seeing a lot of millennials really struggling, having to stay at home, live with parents, really save for that down payment. But millennials are a very unique segment in the market. You know, a lot of people were really scared that they would be emotionally scarred watching their parents go through the recession, but they're very on top of data. They're very on top of big data and going and doing their own research. So it's really important, and another reason I wanted to bring Jason and Kelly on the show with me today, because they really understand how to communicate with millennials in this market. And, you know, agents that are kind of old school and really aren't up on technology, I think, are going to struggle to really service the millennial market. Jason, you had a recent experience through technology. Share that with us.
Yeah, I have some clients right now who live on the East Coast, and they're one of the folks that are very optimistic about real estate and looking to jump in. And so what I do is when they find a property online, we go and we FaceTime. I go to the property right then and there and I walk them through the entire floor plan. Photos can only show so much, and even an online video can only do the same. So we go and we FaceTime. We talk about where's the closet in proximity to the kitchen when you walk in the hallways and all these things. So the dialogue has just been really, really great.
Mary, I got a question for you, and all you guys over there, if you don't mind. You're right, the education has changed in this age group. I mean, millennials were born with a mouse in their hand, so it's a little bit different than the old school way of thinking with real estate. One thing I've heard mentioned a couple times is the scars of the 2007, 2008 marketplace, where they probably didn't own a home, they weren't burned, but maybe their parents were, or someone that they knew was. I understand the student loan debts and things like that, but do you find that there's an emotional attachment, or do you feel like, you know, for the most part, they don't care. They're ahead of the curve and they're thinking about opportunities. They're looking at interest rates. They're, you know, advanced in the way that they get their information. Do you see any of them being held back from the scars of that year?
Well, as we just heard the chief economist for Zillow say, you know, 82% of millennials are very optimistic, and actually 65% of millennials polled believe that they will purchase a home in the next 2 to 5 years.
Anything new coming up in North County?
You know, we were just talking about that in the car on the way down here, and one of the things that I think that no one is really addressing or bringing up yet is the inventory for millennials and the affordability. And I think you're going to start seeing some condo conversions come back because, you know, there has to be inventory and affordability for millennials to enter the house buying cycle, which is really an ecosystem. If millennials are not provided the opportunity to purchase in the housing market, it really will cause a gap, because what the millennial is buying then allows the couple that has just gotten married, had their children, now want to buy a home, then those entry-level buyers move up to the executive home moves on up, and the ecosystem goes. But we need those millennials in the beginning to really keep that ecosystem of home ownership going. And you know, we all need to come together, realtors, lenders, government, everyone needs to come together, builders, developers, to really figure out how are we going to solve this issue for millennials buying in the next 2 to 5 years, when millennials are going to major metro markets where the rents are very high. They are leaving college and, believe it or not, going to places like San Diego. We're number 2 on the list. And so with the rents so high, we have to figure out how to allow millennials to buy to keep the ecosystem going here in San Diego.
Love it, Mary. Well, all-star realtor, our real estate elite out of North County Marketplace, also clearly hosts a radio show. You and I both have the ability to talk a bit. Unfortunately, they throw those things called commercials at us. So Jason, Kelly, Mary, awesome job. I really do appreciate the information. A lot of questions happening about millennials. And we know who to go to if you are millennial, or maybe you have a child that is and they're looking into the market. You can go to hometownnorthcounty.com, connect with Mary, Jason, Kelly, all-star team there. Honored to have them be a part of our team with the American Dream, and certainly our radio show as well.